Hello and welcome to sunny Silverstone, a special weekend here at the home of British motorsport as we return to action for the first time in 2021 for our season opener. We're here with the classic touring cars, a brilliant weekend for it as you can see. The sun is shining, conditions are perfect for the pre-93s and 2003s and the Boss and the Thunder as well. They're out on track at the moment, they're making quite the racket around Silverstone as we love to see. Before we get into the racing though, it's time to meet some of our drivers. Here's our driver of the week.
First started racing with the Classic Touring Car Club, which was called the Classic Saloon Car Club back then. That was in 1986. So yeah, it's quite a few years. That was in a Mark 1 Cortina GT.
How long have you had your current BMW E30?
Spent about a year building it, so it's the 10th year we've raced it now, so it's 11 years I guess. I think we've won the actual Class D championship about, I think, 5 or 6 times now. We've still got currently about 5 lap records around the UK in this car. It's all about the friendly atmosphere. I mean, with the Classic Touring Car Club, you've got the whole variety as well. That's the main thing. You're not just racing BMWs. We've got Alfa Romeos, we've got Fords. Yeah, it's a whole variety of cars.
Tell us about your 2020 season. We know how disrupted it was. How did things go for you?
We had about 4 or 5 class wins. Finished 3rd in the championship overall and 1st in class. So it was a great year.
What are your aims for 2021? I suppose your main aim is the Pre-93 Championship, especially as Laser Tools are the title sponsors.
It's one of those things we've been trying to do since we started. Really, I think we've had about 4 times we've been second. We've never actually won it. So that would be the ideal win.
Well, our drivers are ready. They're itching to go here for race 1 of the weekend. So it's time for us to hand to our commentator. He's Dave Goddard.
Pole position for our combined race. Next up is the reigning Prix 2003 champion AJ Owen in his Honda Civic, and the Prix 93 champion has qualified alongside him, David Griffin, the Australian-born driver, in his BMW. So the 2 champions will be sharing the front row. The Ray West, who's been racing classic saloons for many years, mainly in BMWs, he's taken over Graham Meyer's car this weekend. He's on the 2nd row alongside Gary Preble in his Honda Civic. 3rd row, Don Hughes in his Peugeot 306, and Dean Forward in the beautiful Ford Sierra Cosworth, the Eggenberger Texaco replica. 4th row, Dan Thackeray in his Honda alongside Andy Cripps in a BMW. 5th row, Russell Dack in his BMW Compact alongside John Peerless in another Honda Civic. On the 6th row, we've got the first of the Pre-93 Class A Jaguars, James Ram at the wheel of that one, the reigning Jaguar Enthusiasts Club Series champion, alongside Ross Craig in his Honda. The 7th row, Phil Wright in the Castrol Civic alongside Charles Coppock in his Jaguar XJS. Then the 8th row, Kerry Lewis and Cam Tunio, both in Honda Civics. 9th row, 2 Jags, Michael Seaborn in the XJ40, David Howard in the XJ12. Behind them, on the 10th row, David Nixon with his Rover Tomcats and Ben Mason. 11th row, we've got Vic Hope, number 51, with his Honda Civic alongside Jamie Primmett in a similar car. 12th row, the Alfa Romeo 155 of Jamie Thwaites alongside Ian Knight in a VW Golf. 13th row, Frank Pettit in a Renault Clio alongside Mark Finney's Vauxhall Astra GTE. 14th row, Andy Sheraton in the Laser Tools liveried BMW E30, similar car of Jake Margulies alongside him. The penultimate row, Ian Bauer in his BMW, had a few problems in qualifying I think, alongside John Hillier. 16th row, number 80, which is Phil Dicker in his Ford Fiesta, and 51, Mike Dugdale, not Vic Hope. Clash of number there. Okay, looks like we are in position then. Green flag waves at the back, waiting for the red lights to come on. They do so, and they go out. We will be underway and racing. Off they go. Down towards the first corner. Good start by AJ Owen, good start by Charles Coppock in the white XJS as well. Honda versus BMW down towards the first corner. Which of them is going to be leading? It should be the BMW. Yes, David Griffin's just got his nose in front as they head up towards Village for the first time. Looks like everybody is away cleanly. Good start by Gary Preble in his Honda as well, but it is AJ Owen who has got the lead. It's the Honda that leads ahead of Griffin, Preble and Ray West in the number 9 BMW. The orange Jägermeister liveried car there in 4th place. Griffin on the inside, side by side with Gary Preble. 5th is number 33. A good start there by Andy Cripps from the 4th row of the grid up into 5th. Phil Wright is there. There's the Castrol Civic. It's a wonderful variety of cars once again provided by the Classic Touring Car Racing Club, as they head down towards Stowe Corner for the first time. AJ Owen has the lead. Look at Ray West coming through in the number 9 BMW up into second place by the look of it. Cars large and small overlapping in the midfield. Around the outside there, Ian Bauer. Now, he had problems in qualifying the red BMW. He's a former Pre-93 champion, so watch for him coming through. Bit of damage possibly there on the back of one of the BMW compacts. That might be the Ben Mason car. Maybe he's taken a knock. Looked like a tyre fouling the wheel arch. They complete the first lap then, and it is AJ Owen who leads the way, the first of the Pre-03 touring cars, leading the Pre-93s. Ray West in second. It's Preble, Griffin, Cripps. Sixth position is the Cosworth of Dean Forward. Over the line they go to complete their second lap. Owen from West. Fastest lap of the race though by Gary Preble, 1:14.096, trying to close in on our two leaders. And up the inside, Ray West takes the lead coming out of Village, but Owen back up the inside. Well, this is going to be close, very close indeed there, through Village towards the link, and then up towards Beckett's. West's got the inside, the BMW holds it, but it doesn't matter for AJ Owen. Not only is he in a different class, he's in a different championship, the Pre-03s, but he could lose out here to Gary Preble, who's going to try and make a move down the inside. Multiple Castle Combe saloon car champion at the circuit near Swindon, and he's going through up into second overall and into the lead of the Pre-2003 touring cars. David Griffin fourth, and they've dropped the rest of the field. There's Andy Cripps in the green BMW attacking Don Hughes, then it's the Cosworth. I keep going to say Jim McLaughlin because he used to race that car. It's Dean Forward in there. Then it's Russell Dack, Dan Thackeray and John Peerless rounding out the top 10. Well, Ray West may not be in his own car. He's in the Graham Myers car this weekend. Normally races a yellow BMW M3. Very experienced in all kinds of rear-wheel drive classic saloons. Ray, who's based at the Thruxton circuit in Hampshire, leads the way. Runs a car tuning business. There go the leaders. AJ Owen still ahead of Preble, but only just. There's Don Hughes in a rather lonely fifth position now with 9 minutes of this race to go. Here's the battle. That's Dean Forward has got ahead of Russell Dack. Andy Cripps has dropped back a bit. There's Thackeray. Prep and lay BMW of Russell Dack. Then Andy Cripps. There's John Peerless. Behind them James Ram in the XJS, starting to catch them up. With that Texaco Sierra out there and the Motul XJS, anyone would think we were watching the European Touring Car Championship here at Silverstone back in the 80s. It's exactly the sort of memories these cars designed to evoke in many cases. Newer cars in the Pre-03s. There is Steve Barber, number 114, battling with Mark Finney in the Vauxhall Astra GTE. There's been a change at the front. The overall lead has gone to AJ Owen now. So AJ Owen has taken over. It won't matter in terms of points because they're in different championships, but Ray West has lost the lead. That was at the complex. There's the second place battle. Very purposeful looking car of Gary Preble there, the Civic. There's AJ Owen up ahead, coming up to lap one of the back markers there. That's the BMW estate again, I think. Oh, AJ Owen had to go wide there over the curbs, I caught a glimpse of there. Trying to get round the back marker, he's done so. That could have been a bit dicey. Just over 1 minute to go, so we could be on the last lap now. It's going to be touch and go when they reach the line next time, whether we see the checkered flag or whether they do one more lap. AJ Owen then, clear of the Graham Myers BMW being driven by Ray West. It is going to be an overall win and a perfect start to his title defence for Alex AJ Owen. Can Gary Preble snatch second overall in the Civic? Ray West hanging on, he's going to win the Pre-93s. He's clear of David Griffin in fourth place overall. Bonnet flapping there on David Nixon's Rover, we can see. He's had some contact somewhere. Down towards Stowe Corner. Preble a bit held up in the back markers there. I think he's dropped a couple of lengths in the fight for second. Griffin still fourth and Hughes fifth. It's Dean Forward in the Texaco Cosworth in sixth place. Only a few seconds to go. I think we may get the checkered flag this time. Clock counting down to 0 as AJ Owen comes towards it. No, we do not get the checkered flag. They are going to run one more lap. I was wrong. That's the last thing that Ray West possibly wanted to see, because he wants second overall. He's put a back marker between himself and Preble there. Great to have Gary Preble on board, the king of Castlecombe. AJ Owen coming up to lap a couple of the Jaguars. It's Michael Seaborn in 20th place ahead of him in the Castrol XJ40. That's him through. Now David Howard, the big XJ12. Winner yesterday in the pre-83 touring car, sponsored by Shell Oils. The Simply Service pre-03 victory is going to go to AJ Owen. The Laser Tools pre-93 to Ray West in the number 9 BMW. These three well clear of David Griffin in 4th. A group of back markers here. 91, that's Vic Hope, and the 108 of Jamie Primet. Both Brands Hatch regulars. Coming towards the checkered flag to complete 13 laps. 1, 2, 3. The Buckinghamshire driver AJ Owen starts his season in perfect fashion with a victory here at Silverstone. AJ Owen wins it. Second place over the line, Ray West, he wins the pre-93 split, and Gary Preble takes 3rd in his Honda. 4th overall and 2nd pre-93 is David Griffin. 5th and 3rd of the pre-03s, Don Hughes. But it's AJ Owen who takes the win by just over 3.5 seconds ahead of Ray West, who wins the pre-93 split. Gary Preble, a class-winning 3rd in his Honda. David Griffin 4th ahead of Don Hughes. Then Dean Forward in the Sierra 6 wins his class, as does Russell Dack in the BMW in 7th. Andy Cripps, James Ram and Ross Craig round out the top 10. James Ram winning Class A of the pre-93s. Then Dan Thackeray in 11th ahead of John Peerless, Phil Wright, Cameron Tunio and Charles Kopok rounding out the top 15. Behind them in 16th was Ian Bowers' BMW, ahead of Kerry Lewis in his Honda. Jamie Thwaites in the Alfa Romeo, classified in 18th in the end, ahead of David Howard and Michael Seaborn. Then David Nixon, Vic Hope, Ben Mason, Jamie Primet, Clio of Frank Pettit, Andy Sheraton, Mark Finney, Steve Barber from the back of the grid, Jake Margulies and John Hillier in the BMW estate. 30 cars going the distance.
AJ, a huge congratulations. You seem very, very pleased after that one as well. You should be. It looked like an amazing race to be a part of.
Yeah, you know, you've got two absolutely awesome drivers in Ray and Gary Preble. I think both of them have been racing the whole long half in their lives. So Ray sold his car, that's his old car, to Graham, and he's raced it this weekend. So to be with Graham, with Ray round here in his old car, that's great. But that was a brilliant race, and I haven't had a race like that in years. So we didn't touch. That's what it's all about. So it was a fantastic race.
Well, you talk about not having a race like that in years. We've not had a race like that in enough time anyway, hasn't it? It feels like the longest winter ever. How nice is it to be back racing this weekend in the sunshine at Silverstone?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually know if we would be racing this year. We're sponsored by my work, which is ASM Auto Recycling. And so we didn't really know, because of the whole COVID thing, if we would be racing. So, you know, huge thanks to them. If it wasn't for them, we actually wouldn't be here. Yeah, it's been tough with COVID, but it's given enough time to do a few little modifications to the car. Nothing different, just bits we bought that didn't fit. We've put them on, and it's paid dividends.
Well, I've already seen plenty of fantastic racing. Over to you, Boss and Thunder. It's time for race 2 of the weekend. It's back to Dave.
Coming out onto the track now, we have the Edmondson Electrical Classic and Historic Thunder Saloons, and also the Burton Power Blue Oval Saloon Series. This is going to be a cracker. Get ready to be thunderstruck. Some awesome cars in this series. It's going to be a rolling start to this race, so we'll run you through the first few cars on the grid. Brickwood on pole, Gary Whittaker in the BMW alongside him. Second row, Andy Wilson in the Holden Monaro, and Jason Hughes, ex-BTCC Super Touring Vauxhall Vectra. Third row, Rod Burley in his BMW this weekend, not his familiar Escort WRC, alongside Bradley Gelman in his Ford Sierra Cosworth. Fourth row, Brian Branson BMW, and Ryan Steele in a Citroen Saxo of all things. Great to see that little car well up on the grid. Andy Robinson will line up on the 5th row. It is a rolling start to this race, of course. Just looking to see if Andy is there. Unfortunately, I don't think he is. No, the Ford Falcon is not there. That's a great shame. David Griffin should line up alongside here. I'm not sure if David's there either, actually, the pre-93 touring car champion, having a go in the Thunder Saloons this weekend as well, but I can't see him there. Malcolm Harding, the first of the Blue Oval Saloon Series cars, number 101. Alongside him will be 96 Ian Craig's BMW. Then Paul Wood in another BMW 66, Jason West in 76. Alex Sidwell lines up alongside Colin Voice on the 8th row. 9th row, Ashley Shellswell in his Sierra, and Dan Thackeray's Honda Civic 291. The 10th row, Kevin Denwood and Andy Cripps in BMWs. Paul Eaton alongside Tony Paxman in his Mark 1 Escort. Then we've got Tom Abbott in his Capri, John Peerless Honda. Kirk Armitage's BMW had some overheating issues in qualifying. James Dunkley, who also pulled up in qualifying the Ford Fiesta in the Blue Oval Series. Martin Reynolds with his Anglia alongside Darren Owen in his Escort in the slick tyres class. Brian Bransom, not Brian Bransom, next on the grid, apologies, it's Alan Breck, who's number 126, had to change his number in the 5 litre Capri alongside Ralph Higson's similar orange Escort. Next on the grid, David Gadd at number 58. He's in a Ford Escort shared with his son Jack today, alongside Malcolm Wise in the Sapphire Cosworth. Behind them we've got Anton Martin's Fiesta alongside Colin Claxton in the Triumph Dolomites. No, Colin Claxton's in the Escort, sorry, it's David Claxton in the Triumph Dolomites, apologies. Will Hunt's Fiesta, Neil Hargrave's Escort, and David Claxton. Steve Putt has made it out of problems in qualifying with the Mazda RX-7, watch for that from the back. And Alan Hersey has joined in at the back, having missed qualifying in the Reliant Scimitar. What a variety, what a grid. Get ready to be thunderstruck. This is going to be a great one. We should play it on the rolling lap, shouldn't we? ACTC Thunderstruck. I did do that once at Rockingham a few years ago. I am really looking forward to this race. Some very special cars out there indeed. There's Rod Burley, the BMW. We've got the Holdens out there in force, and sadly no Ford Falcon, no Andy Robinson to size up to them. Problems in qualifying. Martin Reynolds, that beautiful yellow and white Anglia. Alan Breck in that monstrous 5 litre V8 Capri. And watch for Steve Putt. Fast but very fragile. That Mazda RX-7 there at the back of the grid. Certainly wins the prize for the biggest wing on the grid. And Alan Hersey's Reliant Scimitar at the back. Just look at that. Now coming up towards the final corner now, the lead is about to get underway. Here we go. Release the thunder, the race gets underway, and a super start by Andy Wilson down the inside in the number 97. The Holden Monaro goes toe-to-toe with Rick Wood, the two northern-based drivers, into the first corner. Gary Whittaker in the beautiful E30 M3 BMW. Look at that Saxo up there in 24. I don't know what engine Ryan Steele has got under the bonnet of that thing. It is an absolute little rocket ship, keeping up with the big V8 engine cars, rubbing shoulders literally with Rod Burley through the complex there. Goodness gracious me. Now, are they all going to make it round? One car's off already at the back, I can tell you. Malcolm Wise had a spin at Abbey. There he is. The Sapphire Cosworth has spun. He's in the Blue Oval Saloon Series, racing down at Lytton Hill in Kent yesterday. It's Andy Wilson who leads the way. Here they come, they roar their way along the straight. Bradley Gelman's come through well in the Sierra Cosworth up into third, so he's up holding honour for Ford against Holden with no Andy Robinson in there. There's so many great cars to focus on in this field. It's nigh on impossible to pick one out. That, I will admit, is one of my personal favourites, that lovely Anglia of number 27. Martin Reynolds. It's Andy Wilson in the Monaro that leads. The Commodore of Rick Wood in second place. He's got a whole collection of classic touring and saloon cars. Was out with his Calsonic Nissan Skyline recently up at Alton Park, the R32 Skyline, and he's run at Goodwood as well. He had this Holden Commodore out at the Goodwood Speed Weeks last year too. There's Brian Branson, number 26. Behind him, Jason Hughes, or Jason Plato as we're calling him this weekend, the ex-Super Touring. Oh, Bradley Gelman's lost it. The Sierra spins, look out. Rod Burley well avoided, and Bradley Gelman right in the middle of the track. Let's hope everybody is going to miss him there, trying to get the Cosworth going again. Somebody else has gone off as well. It's David Claxton in the Triumph, but Bradley Gelman is stranded right in the middle of the track at Village. I think everybody has managed to avoid him. Well done, everyone. A Code Brown moment as David Addison would say. Rick Wood to the inside at Stowe, takes the lead in the Battle of the Holdens. Where else can you see two beautiful Australian supercars battling it out in motorsport outside of Australia than here in the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloon Championship? It's not until you stand next to one of those big Holden Commodore Aussie V8 supercars you realise just how big they are. Spectacular machine, the ex-Garth Tander car. Gary Whittaker in his beautiful E30 BMW is third. Through Beckett's go the two Holdens. Gary Whittaker a little further back in third, about 3.5 seconds down off the lead. Fastest lap of the race recorded last time through by Rick Wood. And Andy Wilson, unfortunately, has got a 10-second penalty. Just come up on my screen, a 10-second penalty for a false start. So Andy Wilson judged to have jumped the rolling starts, and he has been penalised, so that's a great shame. A 10-second penalty will be added on post-race to the Holden Monaro. So Rick Wood is effectively in the clear now, these two pulling away at the front, but with 10 seconds to be added on. There's Gary Whittaker in third place in the M3. Hughes is fourth. Rod Burley still going as well. Bradley Gelman's got the Sierra going in after that frightening moment at the complex where he spun in front of everybody. Now there is Jason Hughes and there's Gary Whittaker. Vauxhall versus BMW for third. And that's without a class battle? No, Hughes is Class C and Whittaker is Class B, lapping Martin Reynolds with his new Anglia. Look at that BMW, isn't it beautiful? The E30 M3, one of the most successful touring cars of all time. It's a new build for Gary over the winter. Fords fighting out amongst themselves. There's Ian Craig's BMW, Bradley Gelman. Now where's he got back up to? 15th after that spin, just ahead of Ashley Shelswell, who is second overall of the Blue Oval Saloon Series cars, but well behind Malcolm Harding, who's 9th overall. Jason Plato Hughes in his Vectra, still third overall. Going up to lap, I think that's Tom Abbott's Capri. In Blue Oval. 2.5 minutes to go. It's looking good for Rick Wood. Just in a purple sector, so he's getting quicker and quicker. Fastest lap of 1 minute 9.308. Gelman, good to have him back out. He's been out of racing for a while in the black Sierra. Of course, we should have had another Holden on the grid to join the ones we've already mentioned. Craig Owen, father of AJ Owen, who we saw take a win earlier on in his Honda. Craig Owen's got both the Holden Commodore and a Ford Sierra Cosworth. It's not appearing on the grid, sadly. Just over 90 seconds to go then. Should get one more lap out of this, plus the one they're on. BMW there, very similar to BMW's DTM cars of the late 80s. That's I think the inspiration for Gary Whittaker, multiple BMW champion. There's Hughes, still third in the Vauxhall Vectra. Blue Oval leader is still Malcolm Harding's Castrol Escort. Whoops, Jason Hughes slipped up there, he got a wheel onto the grass. Coming out of Chapel, holds third place though. Keep it steady for an overall podium. They're coming up on Tony Paxman, veteran racer in his modified Mark 1 Escort. Leading Blue Oval Class C. Going towards the end of this, they'll be on their last lap now. Rick Wood heading for victory in his Aussie supercar. There's Andy Wilson. 1.3 seconds down on Rick Wood. I think they're far enough ahead of Jason Hughes that Wilson won't lose second place with that 10-second penalty. He should be okay. Steve Putt, incidentally, in the RX-7 is now up into 6th place as you watch a battle of the Sierras there. That's Gelman and Shelswell. They're fighting for 15th place. Shelswell second in Blue Oval. Who's third in Blue Oval? I think it's Paxman. Yeah, the Blue Oval cars, leaders fairly well spread through the order. The checkered flag this time, and Rick Wood is going to start as he means to go on this year. Big Holden comes through to take the checkered flag. Rick Wood wins it. Fair dinkum, he says, as he crosses the line. Andy Wilson will cross the line second. I think he will keep second place despite the penalty. We'll see how far back Jason Hughes is in third overall. Hughes will win his class. He'll take Class C of the Classic Thunder Saloons, and Class B is going to go to Gary Whittaker. Here's the result then. Rick Wood, the race winner, ahead of Andy Wilson. A Holden 1-2 with the Vauxhall of Jason Hughes third. Gary Whittaker fourth, winning his class, as does Hughes. Rod Burley takes fifth in the BMW. Sixth place going to Steve Putt in the RX-7, Alex Sidwell seventh. Brian Bransom is eighth in his BMW. Malcolm Harding wins the Blue Oval Saloon split in ninth with his Escort, and it's Paul Wood 10th in his BMW with Jason West's similar M3 11th. Ryan Steele, the little Saxo, takes 12th ahead of Colin Voice's Mark 1 Escort. Ian Craig 14th, and Bradley Gelman recovering his spin to come through for 15th place. Behind them, Ashley Shelswell was the second Blue Oval Saloon home, his Sierra, ahead of Paul Eaton's Commodore, and Kevin Denwood in his BMW Compact. Tony Paxman and Andy Cripps rounding out the top 20, I should say. Then Tom Abbott and Martin Reynolds next home. James Dunkley, a class-winning 23rd with his lovely Fiesta. Ralph Hickson, Colin Claxton next home ahead of Malcolm Wise recovering from his turn 1 spin. 27th going to David Gadd, and we lost Will Hunt late on. Alan Hersey pulled into the pits. Daz Owen was also a retirement, as were the 53 car of Neil Argrave, and a couple of others, Alan Breck and David Claxton, we lost early on.
Well, we're really enjoying the racing here at Silverstone. We certainly have missed it. Do stay with us, there's plenty more to come after the break. Cars up on the grid then for our second race of the day for the pre-93s and pre-2003s. What a lineup it is. Should be another fantastic race. So over to your commentator, he's Dave Goddard.
Let's have a look at the grid then for our next race of the day. This is based on the results of the earlier pre-93, pre-03 race. This is AJ Owen, therefore, who takes pole in his Honda. Ray West in the Jägermeister BMW alongside him. Second row, Gary Preble Honda, David Griffin BMW, although we didn't see David Griffin in the Classic Thunder race. Hopefully he'll make it out for this one. Third row, Don Hughes, Peugeot, Dean Forward, Cosworth. Fourth row, Russell Dack and Andy Cripps in a pair of BMWs. Fifth row, James Ram in the Jaguar XJS and Ross Craig Honda. Pair of Honda Civics, Dan Thackeray and John Peerless on row 6. Row 7, more Honda Civics, Phil Wright and Cameron Tunio. Row 8, Charles Coppop Jaguar, Ian Bauer in his BMW. He'll be one to watch from there. Came through nicely from the back in race 1. On the 9th row, Carrie Lewis, Honda Civic, and David Howard in his Jaguar XJ12. Then on the 10th row, we have Michael Seaborn with his Jaguar XJ40 alongside David Nixon in the Rover. Vic Hope's Honda starts alongside Ben Mason's BMW. Jamie Primet and Frank Pettit are next in Honda and Renault. Andy Sheraton BMW, Mark Finney in the Vauxhall Astra. Then we'll have Steve Barber in his Honda, where that blank space is, alongside Jake Margulies in his BMW. And the final row, John Hillier in the BMW estate. Yes, really, if you didn't see it earlier, we'll see it in this one. And Jamie Thwaites in the Alfa Romeo, who sadly was the only non-finisher in our earlier race. Looks like we are in position, the green flag being waved at the back of the grid. The red lights are on and away they go. Great start from the rear wheel drive BMW of Ray West in the Graham Myers car. He will take up the early lead from AJ Owen and Gary Preble. Going through into fourth is the Cosworth of Dean Forward, certainly moving forward from his qualifying position as they go towards the complex for the first time. Side by side between the two Hondas for second place, but it is Ray West who's got the lead. AJ Owen has a look up the inside under braking for Village. Good get away by Andy Cripps once again using the rear wheel drive of the BMW. It's the orange BMW that leads from Owen. Has a look on the inside at Beckett's, not quite room there. wide there, Dan Thackeray's Honda Civic. Side by side for the lead. Now is Owen going to be able to get into the lead? He's almost being pushed by Gary Preble there. Preble trying to go between the two of them. Look at this from the white Honda, making it 3 wide as they come down towards Stowe Corner. Who's going to brake first? I think it's AJ Owen who's braked first, because Gary Preble's there on the inside and he's going to take the lead away. So they all get round Stowe Corner for the first time in this Laser Tools Pre-93 and Simply Serviced Pre-03 touring car race. All round Stowe Corner, okay, and it is Gary Preble who has got the lead in car number 191. AJ Owen in second place, third place for Ray West, and he leads the Pre-93 cars. They complete the first lap. It's Preble with Owen on his rear spoiler. Fourth place is Dean Forward. Don Hughes in the Peugeot is fifth, number 148. Sixth is Andy Cripps. James Ram up to seventh in the Jaguar XJS. Ryan astern as they head towards Abbey for the second time. There's the number 33. That's Andy Cripps in the BMW. Gary Preble has the lead. Puff of smoke there from Dean Forward, Sierra Cosworth. We don't want smoke, we want flames out of that exhaust. Memories of Steve Soper, the days he used to battle Andy Rouse. Already Jamie Thwaites making progress in the Alfa Romeo from the back of the grid. Not the best of starts for Ian Bauer. He started 16th, and whether he's had another problem, yeah, he's down to 25th place. He's lost 10 places on that first lap, so he's had further problems. Might be a clutch issue getting the car off the line. Don Hughes side by side with the Cosworth. There we see the flames from the exhaust pipe. That's what we like to see. Here's the battle for 8th. Round the outside goes Russell Dack ahead of Ross Craig. David Nixon in the Rovers repaired his bonnet from earlier on. There's the two Hondas up front. Gary Preble from AJ Owen, pulling away slightly now from Ray West in the BMW. Ray won't mind. Two Hondas in a different championships then. They're pre-03, he's pre-93. Don Hughes up there in fourth place. He's got ahead of the Sierra Cosworth of Dean Forward. Took nearly half a second out of Gary Preble on that last lap, trying to take the overall lead once again. Cosworth's dropped back a little, flaming away there. That's what we like to see, Dean Forward. Then Cripps, Ram, Dack, Thackeray. John Peerless up the inside there, takes Ross Craig. With the gaggle of Hondas further back behind them, Ben Mason's BMW. AJ Owen has definitely got Gary Preble in his sights here. AJ Owen, the ASM Auto Recycling Honda. Towards Vale. Here's a battle further back. David Nixon in there, Michael Seaborn as well. Preble just a little bit wide now. AJ Owen's got a run as they come out of Vale up towards Club. Can he take the lead away onto the main straight? They're side by side. He's got him. Good move, AJ Owen, but Gary Preble's fighting back. Now battle is joined between the two Hondas. He goes out slightly onto the marbles there to the inside of the home straight. Gary Preble fights up the inside, but Owen holds him off and he's got the lead. Good driving by both of the Honda Civic pilots. AJ Owen just got the better run out of Vale there on the inside line, was able to get the overlap as they came out of Club onto the Hamilton straights. But now he's having to work hard. Preble fighting back. They're in different classes, so it won't matter for the championship, but they want the glory of an overall race win, as does Ray West behind them in the BMW. 8 minutes of this race to go, so we're not even halfway. Oh, over the grass there goes Ray West. Got the line wrong out of Beckett's there, just ran a bit wide. That'll drop him back towards Don Hughes in that yellow Peugeot. Menacing behind them, and here comes Gary Preble up the outside, trying to retake the lead of this Laser Tools Pre-93 and Simply Serviced Pre-03 race. Going into the closing stages now. James Ram getting in among the Hondas, having a go at Dan Thackeray in 291. He's got him round the outside. Jag out dragging the smaller Civic in a straight line. There's the battle for third place. That's Ray West. He's still leading the Pre-93 category, heading for a double there. There are the leaders. Yes, the gap has opened out now, about 0.4 of a second. Owen increased his lead by on that last lap. He also did the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 14.156. Back to Preble's 1:14.218 from earlier on. And Hughes is through. Don Hughes has got through into third place. I said he was catching Ray West. Peugeot up into third, so it's pre-03 cars all the way now in the top three. Hughes down to fourth, Forward is up to fifth. Then it's Andy Cripps with the green BMW. Here they come onto the Hanger Straights now. Power is going to tell here, surely. This is the fight for 13th and 14th, and here comes David Howard, says, well, if you're going to squabble, I'll try and pass you all down the outside. Oh, that's a bit of a squeeze. Alpha, Honda and Jaguar. They've all somehow made it round. I thought somebody was going to get squeezed onto the grass there. That somebody was nearly David Howard. He thought better of it, he backed out. Another Honda behind him. Jamie Thwaites up the inside. Oh, careful, Jamie. Don't want to damage that Alfa Romeo. He's gone over the gravel on the exit. He nearly took all three of them out there. Oh dear, he'll have to drop back in behind those two. Let's see if he penalised for gaining an advantage. David Howard will have a go at the Alfa Romeo now. That was close. He nearly had a pile up there into the gravel at Vale. He's kept it running. David Howard will go through though. Kerry Lewis in his Honda in behind them. Got just over a minute of this race to go now. Owen and Preble, the gap's up to over 2.5 seconds now, so AJ Owen all set for his double. There is Gary Preble in second place. There's just under a minute to go on the clock, so this may well be the last lap. It's going to be close. They might get one more in after this. There is the 1-2-3 of AJ Owen, the High Wycombe driver. Round the outside to lap James Primmett. Preble's dropped back into second. There's Don Hughes going well in third. He's had a good weekend. Mired in back markers at the moment though. There's Michael Seaborn about to be lapped in the big XJ40. Ahead of him Vic Hope in 51, another Brands Hatch regular over the years in their saloon series. Ray West still leading the pre-93 split in the Jägermeister car. Blue flag being waved at the back markers as here comes AJ. I think we're going to get the checkered flag this time. It's going to be close on time. 5 seconds to go as he comes out to club. Wait and see what goes out from the marshals as he comes over the line. No, it is the last lap board, so he was just slightly too early there. We've all got one more lap for AJ Owen. And what's happened to Gary Preble? I didn't see him come through there. So he had an issue somewhere. Or was he just hidden by back markers? Wait to see if he comes through. He's in. I think he's in among the back markers somewhere. Jamie Thwaites ahead of Cam Tunio and Kerry Lewis now. There is AJ coming up to lap this little lot. There's Gary. He was hidden behind a wall of back markers coming through the last corner. That's why I couldn't see him. Well, Ray West is going to win the pre-93 split ahead of Dean Forward. Third in that group is Andy Cripps. It's pre-03, 1-2-3. Here comes AJ Owen. Great fight with Gary Preble in this one early on before pulling away. Comes up to lap David Howard's XJ12. He's got two corners to negotiate now, the left at Vale, the long right at Club. And a perfect start to his title defence in the simply serviced pre-03 Touring Car Championship. The man from Buckinghamshire, AJ Owen, round the final corner, takes the checkered flag, dives over to the pit wall. He nearly hit the pit wall, he dove over so quickly. Gary Preble comes over in second, and Don Hughes third. The win in the pre-93 class, sponsored by Laser Tools, goes to Ray West in the BMW. And Gary Preble pulls up alongside AJ Owen to congratulate him. A good race between those two. That's good sportsmanship from Gary. Here's your result then. Provisional results. AJ Owen the winner by 1 3/4 seconds from Gary Preble, and Don Hughes makes it a pre-03 1-2-3. Ray West, the pre-93 split winner, in 4th place ahead of Dean Forward and Russell Dack in 6th. He wins his class. 5 class winners in the top 6. Andy Cripps is next home ahead of Dan Thackeray, Ross Craig and John Peerless, the Honda Civic trio. James Ram wins his class in 11th. Then Phil Wright, Charles Coppock, Jamie Thwaites from the back of the grid. Cam Tunio completing the top 15. Behind him in 16th was Kerry Lewis ahead of David Howard, then David Nixon in the Rover, Vic Hope in his Honda Civic, Michael Seaborn and Ben Mason, James Primmett, Frank Pettit in the Clio. Andy Sheraton wins his class in his BMW ahead of Mark Finney. Ian Bauer struggled a bit in that one, finished towards the back, and then Steve Barber and Jake Margulies completed the 28 finishers.
Well, for the second time today, we're joined here by AJ. AJ, that was a wild race. That had a little bit of everything, didn't it? Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was bonkers, to be fair. Me and Gary both got ahead of Ray, and then it was a bit like, oh, okay, let's see what Gary's like in clear air, and he dropped me initially, and then I caught back up, and Gary's a wise old fox at this game, so you've got to do something pretty special to get past Gary, and did a lovely little cutback, and that was it, and sort of just kept my head down, but it was the clutch was slipping away on the last lap there, so I don't think the clutch has got much left in it, but that was two very hard races, and hopefully for the cameras it was certainly something good to watch.
Well, I was watching it from up on the balcony here on the finishing straight, and the best thing for me is every time the cars came back round, it seemed like we had a new leader. It was one of those races, wasn't it? It was back and forth. How difficult was it just to try and stay in the moment and just try and keep yourself in front?
You just got to, when you're sort of in a car like mine, you sort of have to be a bit tactical, and we were down the hangar straight 3 abreast, and you just think, oh God, and look at the slowest out of the 3 of us, mine's the slowest, and just to the inside, and then when I got the lead with Gary, it was like, just have to put the car to the inside every time, make him go the long way round, and then catch the other cars, but it was hard work. I don't know what it looked like from the outside, but we were going through turn 1, opposite lot, turn 2, opposite lot, and the thing was dancing all over the place, but yeah, I didn't think I'd get a pole. I didn't think I'd get 2 wins. I've been saying all week I won't do it.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say that leads us in quite nicely. We spoke to you after race 1, obviously, where you got the win. You were just delighted to be back. Great win was a bonus, but how do you reflect on this weekend now? It couldn't have gone any better, right?
No, as I say, it's sort of a bit of a whirlwind because I didn't expect it. I thought we would struggle because it's big power circuit, really. But yeah, it's one we'll look back on, and certainly with the calibre of driver that's in the field as well, it's certainly a one to cherish for sure.
One to be proud of, mate. Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you very much.
It's time to get thunderstruck again. The Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons and Burton Power Blue Oval Saloon Series is coming up very shortly. A 15-minute race will bring you the grid. Pole position is number 111 Rick Wood, winner of the earlier race in his Holden Commodore, alongside 97 Andy Wilson. Now, despite getting a penalty for a jump start on the rolling start, Andy did retain that second place because he was sufficiently far clear of third place man Jason Hughes, who lines up third in his Vauxhall Vectra. Alongside him will be number 16 Gary Whittaker with the BMW M3. Third row, 144 Rod Burley with his BMW, alongside 77 Steve Putt, back of the grid to 6th in race 1. He'll be one to watch here in the Mazda RX-7. Fourth row, 88 Alex Sidwell, Holden Commodore, 26 Brian Bransom with the orange BMW. I'm still noting down colours for some of these cars. There's so many of them here. It's hard to keep track of them. This is a record-breaking weekend for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. On the 5th row, 101 Malcolm Harding. He's the first of the Blue Oval Saloon Series cars with his Escort, and alongside him is Paul Wood in his BMW. The 6th row, Jason West, number 76, and Ryan Steele, number 24, in that Pocket Rocket Saxo. Row 7, 121 Colin Voice, and number 96 of Ian Craig. 8th row, 82 Bradley Gelman, and number 3 Ashley Shelswell, pair of Sierras. The 9th row, Paul Eaton, number 50 in the Classic Commodore, and 71 Kevin Denwood with his BMW Compact. On the 10th row of the grid we have Tony Paxman, number 57 with his Escort, 38 Andy Cripps BMW. Row 11, 62 Tom Abbott and 27 Martin Reynolds in a pair of Fords, Capri and Anglia. 12th row, 22 James Dunkley and 52 Ralph Higson, Fiesta and Escort. Row 13, Colin Claxton with his Escort alongside Malcolm Wise in the Sapphire Cosworth. Then on the 14th row we have number 77, which is Alan Hersey. 2 number 77, since the confusion on the graphics there. That's the Reliant Scimitar. And number 70, Will Hunt with his Fiesta. The 15th row, number 8, Darren Owen, 53 Neil Argrave. They failed to finish race 1 in their Escorts. Row 16, we will have number 84, which is David Claxton in the Triumph. And 126, which is Alan Breck with the big Capri, 5-litre V8. At the back of the grid, number 58, it's not David Gadd for this race, it's his son, Jack Gadd. They're sharing the family Ford Escort. So Jack has to start at the back because he didn't contest race 1. They are on their way round behind the pace car. Let's hope we get a full grid of 33 cars for this one then. Now the revs begin to rise. Pace car into the pit lane. The two Holdens of Andy Wilson and Rick Wood lead them round. Wood on the inside, the Monaro of Wilson on the outside, Jason Hughes and the BTCC Vectra behind them. Gary Whittaker in the E30 BMW. The red lights are on, they'll roll up towards the lights. When they go out, we will be underway. Waiting for the lights to go out. Lights are still red, now they go out. Let's get ready to rumble with Classic Thunder and Blue Oval Saloons. They're away down towards Abbey for the first time, and it is Rick Wood who has edged Andy Wilson into the first corner this time. Will they all make it round? Let's hope so. A bit of dust being kicked up on the outside following that frantic race for the TCRs and VWs. Rick Wood leads from Andy Wilson, side by side for third between Whittaker and Hughes. The Super Touring Vectra just hangs on in front. They've all made it through okay so far. Rick Wood looking for his double. Andy Wilson has a look down the outside, over the grass there. On the inside goes Gary Whittaker, a bit of corner cutting. Ashley Shelswell running wide in the Sierra. This dancing field of cars comes through Beckett's down the hanger straight. The power of the Holdens taking them clear of the Vauxhall. And look at Steve Putt. We said that RX-7. We want to watch the blue and black car up into fourth ahead of Whittaker, Burley, Alex Sidwell and the rest of them. Breck trying to come through from the back in the Jägermeister Capri. There's James Dunkley, that lovely XR2 sideways through the Stowe corner. They start to sort themselves out at the end of the first lap. It is Rick Wood who has got the lead ahead of Andy Wilson by a scant margin. Then it's Hughes third, Putz fourth, Whittaker fifth, Rod Burley is sixth. Seventh we've got Alex Sidwell's Commodore. Jason West is up into eighth place in his BMW. He is chasing after Alex Sidwell in the Commodore. That big BMW nearly the size of the Commodore with those wings on, isn't it? He's up the inside here into the complex and will take seventh place away. Behind them is Colin Voice's Escort. The leading Blue Oval Saloon car is Ashley Shelswell. We seem to have lost Malcolm Harding somewhere on that first lap. I think he was on the grid, so we've lost our Blue Oval winner from race 1. Bounce over the curb at Beckett's. The two Holdens going clear at the front. James Dunkley dives past Tom Abbott in the blue Capri. Rod Burley shadowing Gary Whittaker. Jason West again attacks Alex Sidwell. Yes, we've lost Malcolm Harding, unfortunately. There's that little saxo of Ryan Steele. And the safety car is coming out. I suspect that's because of Alan Hersey's stranded car. It's in a dangerous position there on the outside of Stowe Corner. So the safety car is being brought out to allow the marshals safe passage to move it. Yes, Alan Hersey's still in the car. It's not safe for him to get out. So the officials opting to bring out the safety car. Safety car will be coming in this time. Marshals just given a chance to get that Reliance Scimitar pushed out of the way. Rick Wood controls the pace. Power comes back on. Just listen to this. It's nice to take a few seconds pause there and listen to the incredible sound of these beautiful cars. That's given Steve Putt the chance to catch up. He's caught up to the back of Jason Hughes. Also given Andy Wilson a chance to perhaps have a go at Rick Wood. He's less than a length behind now. Gary Whittaker, they're in fifth. They pulled away again from Rod Burley in the E36 M3. Jason West, Alex Sidwell, Brian Branson, Bradley Gelman rounding out the top 10. He's ahead of Paul Wood in the black and orange BMW. Three retirements so far. David Claxton and Malcolm Harding we lost on the first lap. Jason West still continues his battle. Germany versus Australia, BMW versus Holden with Alex Sidwell. He's had a couple of Commodores over the years, has Alex. As I said during race 1, it's not until you stand next to an Aussie supercar you realise just how huge they are. Beautiful Works BMW livery on the G-Sport BMW of Gary Whittaker. Won many titles in his E36 M3 over the years and has taken a year or two out to build that beautiful E30 M3. Andy Wilson's not finished yet, he's staying in the slipstream of Rick Wood. It's the main battle at the moment as they head through towards Village. A couple of Fords ahead of them, Alan Breck, who's had a tough day with the Capri, and Malcolm Wise with the Sapphire. Here's Tony Paxman still battling with Kevin Denwood in the BMW Compact. The Mark 1 Escort goes wide. Andy Cripps up behind them in his BMW. Tony Paxman locks up going into the Vale there. Let's hope he doesn't slide straight on into the gravel. No, he's okay, he's got away with it. There is the Escort, Tony Paxman. Racing various cars on Overland Circuit for many years now. There's James Dunkley, the XMG midget racer. And there is Malcolm Wise. It's him who's lost the bumper and the exhaust, so that's whose bumper is at Beckett's. I hadn't seen the car from the back there. He must have been hit at some point, and he's likely to be flagged in because that exhaust is trailing behind the car. He'll probably get the black and orange flag. 30 seconds of the race to go, so they're coming round to start their final lap this time. Rick Wood has now pulled away from Andy Wilson. Paxman's dropped back from Denwood as well. Those two been battling all race long. In fact, the gap has gone out considerably. Last lap for Wilson was a 1:13, Wood a 1:09. The early pace was 1:08. Oh, Alan Breck pulling over in the V8 Capri. Yes, Wilson has dropped away considerably. There he is. So Rick Wood is heading for a double. One of the gurus of saloon car racing in the UK. He's appeared on various car restoration programmes with his classic Capris, among others as well. And behind CNC heads as Tony Paxman collects Malcolm Wise's bumper. Here comes the Red Rooster, Toll Holden. Garth Tander is the name on the window, but it is Rick Wood from Cheshire behind the wheel. He's coming up to lap the car's predecessor. Look at this, the Peter Brock Holden of Paul Eaton. This would be fitting if they cross the line together. Two generations of Works Holden Commodore together. Look at this, a formation finish almost. Isn't that brilliant? Aussie cars old and new, and it's Rick Wood who takes his double. Well done, Rick Wood, well clear. Waiting for Andy Wilson to come home in second. There he is. Nearly 9 seconds down in the end. And Jason Hughes in the Vectra takes third place. Great day for him in the Super Touring car. Jason West coming through for fourth. And Gary Whittaker dropping to fifth, ahead of Rod Burley. The RX-7 of Steve Putt is seventh. Alex Sidwell's Commodore is eighth. It'll be Paul Wood in ninth. Bradley Gelman rounds out the top 10. Let's have a look at the results then. Rick Wood the winner by nearly 9 seconds ahead of Andy Wilson. Jason Hughes wins his class in third place, as does Jason West. Good run from him in fourth. A late rally through from seventh to fourth. Gary Whittaker takes fifth and lost the class win as well towards the end. Rod Burley taking the sixth place. And Steve Putt was in seventh in the Mazda. Eighth going to Alex Sidwell, ahead of Paul Wood, no relation to Rick, and Bradley Gelman in 10th. Brian Bransom 11th, ahead of Colin Voice. Ian Craig, Ross's father, taking 13th, ahead of Ryan Steele in the Saxo. And Ashley Shelswell wins the Blue Oval Saloon Series in 15th place overall. 16th going to Paul Eaton, a lap down, ahead of Kevin Denwood in 17th. He won his battle with Tony Paxman, who went on all race long. It was Andy Cripps and Martin Reynolds completing the top 20. Tom Abbott beats Daz Owen home. Then James Dunkley, a class winner behind them. Jack Gadd from the back of the grid, ahead of Colin Claxton in the Escorts. Then Will Hunt. Malcolm Wise did get his battered Sierra Cosworth home. Alan Breck we lost late on. Alan Hersey and Malcolm Harding also retirements, as was David Claxton at the beginning of the race.
Well, almost time to say farewell from Silverstone. What a way to open up the 2021 season. Join us soon for plenty more on Full Throttle with the classic touring cars.